Today we are going to talk about how to put together a training program for Hyrox and how I have structured mine in the build up to Hyrox Glasgow. This video is going to give you my experience of prepping and training for 3 Hyrox races. This will be my 4th, and although I am by no means a professional Hyrox athlete, I am a coach and I have managed to get faster every single Hyrox that I've done. So this video is part of my Hyrox Shred series where I'm pretty much just documenting my journey in the lead up to Hyrox Glasgow and how I'm going to lose some fat at the same time, because I know from personal experience and from a lot of the clients that I work with, yes, people sign up to Hyrox races because they want to be competitive and they want an outlet for that and they want to have a physical challenge, definitely. But also, there's a lot of you out there that sign up to Hyrox because you just want an external motivator to get in better shape physically and aesthetically as well. So that's why I'm doing this series, to teach you how to do it, to show you how I'm doing it so you can do it as well. And this video is all about the training program that I am going to be following, so you can basically just steal it and you can run with it yourself, or you can adapt it to suit you. Enjoy the video, let me know what you think. Alright, so I am going to talk through on my screen what we have got planned for Hyrox Glasgow. Now, I myself am going to be doing 6 training sessions every single week. Now that is just because I'm used to training this many times. I've trained 6 times a week for a long time. You don't necessarily have to do all 6, and this is what I mean. You could just steal this program and run with it, or you could adapt it for yourself. I will definitely give a breakdown in terms of like priority of sessions and which ones I would definitely do and which maybe ones that you could skip or sort of merge together. But anyway, what we've got on the screen is my program. So Hyrox GLA 10 weeks. We've got a full body plus sort of compromise running Hyrox conditioning session happening on a Monday. We've got a full body session plus some erg conditioning on a Tuesday. We've got running intervals on a Wednesday. We've got a full body weights session on a Thursday. Friday we have a Hyrox sim style workout, and then Saturday or at some point over the weekend we have a sort of longer steady state run. So I'm just going to talk through some of these in a little bit more detail and then talk about how they're going to progress over the course of the week. So if we look at session 1 here, we've got a warm up in the mix, and then we've got deadlifts, 4 sets of 8. When I'm doing strength training for something like Hyrox, I'm not really looking to, especially this close to the race, right, look to improve my absolute strength, because I just don't really think it's necessary to be trying to improve your absolute strength, you know, your 1 rep max deadlift, for example, in the build up to a Hyrox event. Yes, it's good to be stronger, and in the kind of off season of a Hyrox, or once you complete it, it's always beneficial to get stronger as a person, whether you're doing Hyrox or just want to live a long time and be able to do what you want to do and look good and look jacked. Like, it's always good to be strong. But for this prep series, we don't need to be lifting max weights. You know, don't get me wrong, 4 sets of 8 is tough, and you're going to be lifting as heavy as you can for 8 reps, but it doesn't need to be, we don't need to be dropping those reps down to like sets of 2 and sets of 3, in my opinion. I'm quite happy with sets of 8. We'll probably drop it down to maybe sets of 4 at some point, but we don't really need to go much lower than that. I've always got first sets kind of a moderate load and then 3 sort of working sets thereafter. Strict press, again, 4 sets of 6 to 8. We're always going to be operating in this kind of 6 to 8-ish rep range when it comes to our strength, or probably more strength endurance throughout this program, because let's face it, Hyrox doesn't really have a, as I said, a strength component to it, but it has a lot of strength endurance. Like, how much can your muscles endure going through the same motions again and again and again and again and again? If you're, don't get me wrong, if you have a higher level of absolute strength, then you're starting from a better baseline. But in a training program like this, I'm not going to be able to improve my absolute strength, so I'd rather just work on my strength endurance. So strict press into some ab work, because who doesn't want some abs? So 4 sets of cable crunches into a bit of a giant set. Basically, these giant sets I've got in most workouts are pretty much there for just some accessories. So we've got incline bench, because who doesn't love a bit of incline bench? 3-point dumbbell rows, and then dumbbell RDLs into our Hyrox conditioning. So the point of the Hyrox conditioning sessions on my first session of the week is pretty much like, I know that I'm going to be a bit fatigued from having just done all this session, right? Particularly my lower body, because okay, I've not done stupid amounts of volume, but I've done 4 sets of 8 deadlifts where again I'm working up to, I'm lifting as heavy as I can for 8 reps, which should be very challenging. And then again, I've done dumbbell RDL, so my hamstrings are going to be you know, not necessarily completely fucking smoked, but they're going to be a little bit fatigued, plus everything else on my body. So the point of this is to always include some sort of running in the conditionings on a Monday, where I'm really just trying to run under fatigue and then do some of the Hyrox movements under fatigue. So for example, in this session, it was a 20-minute AMRAP with 20-meter farmer's carry. I'm just gonna, I actually would typically like to go heavier than what I'm gonna be doing on race day. So I would go for the 28 or the 32 kilo kettlebells because I'm just doing the open category in this race. So I would train with heavier weights, but the heaviest weights we've got at the gym right now are 24 kilo kettlebells. So I'm just using those. So 20-meter farmer's carry with 24 kg kettlebells into 400-meter run. I'm just doing that on a curved runner, and then 20 wall balls. I am doing my wall balls at 9 kilos because I've just always done wall balls at 9 kilos, coming from like more of a CrossFit style of training background. And again, it just means that on the day that the 6 kilo feels super light, and then another 400-meter run, and I'm just rinsing and repeating that. So again, the point is my legs are tired, but I'm forcing myself to just run on tired legs whilst mixing in more of the movements there for a 20-minute AMRAP. And that is session 1. Session 2, we've got full body plus ergs. So again, we've got a warm up in there. We've got dumbbell, bench press, 4 sets of 6 to 8 reps. Again, just trying to work up to that 8, top end of that rep range, lifting as heavy as I can for 8 reps. Dumbbell deficit reverse lunge, 4 sets of 20. These suck. Like, these really are not fun, but I know they're going to be beneficial because making sure we have some single leg strength in any program is always a good idea, but even more so because I know obviously part of Hyrox is the lunges, and obviously this is just also strength endurance for lower body, so we want to practice them. Now again, the goal there is to try and load up as heavy as you can. I'm just using 2 dumbbell, obviously dumbbell deficit reverse lunges, so heaviest dumbbells as you can, and try and increase that each week into another one of our giant sets where again we're just looking to get some accessories done. So landmine rotations for core, half kneeling landmine overhead press. I just did this because I thought it'd be easy because I've already got the landmine set up for rotations, but you could do dumbbell. I have a bit of a shoulder issue going on in my left shoulder, so my kind of overhead pressing isn't as strong as where it typically is. The landmine allows me to press overhead without having to have my arm so vertical, right? Because the way the angle of the barbell comes towards you, you can press and finish with your ear next to your bicep in a way when you're kneeling down that doesn't have to be directly overhead. So it's a bit more forgiving on a bad shoulder. So if you've got a bad shoulder, it could be worthwhile thinking about. Into some Copenhagen planks, we're really just working on the adductors there, just keeping them ticking over. Then into my erg conditioning. Now I posted this workout on my Instagram the other day, so plug time. If you're not following me on Instagram, what are you doing, man? Make sure you drop me a follow. My name is Blair Sangster _, on pretty much everything. So go and check me out on Instagram if you haven't already. But anyway, erg conditioning. So we've got 2-minute row, 1-minute rest, 2-minute ski, 1-minute rest, 2-minute bike, 1-minute rest, for 3 total rounds. Now, if you train at like a functional fitness, CrossFit type gym where it's kind of socially acceptable to move all of the bits of kit around everywhere, wherever you want, then you'll probably be fine with this. However, when I did this at David Lloyd, I had to, and it's fine, I had to just adapt it. So I just did all 3 sets on the rower, all 3 sets in the ski, and then all 3 sets on the bike. So 2-minute row, 1-minute rest, did that 3 times, then jumped from the rower to the ski, same thing. Then after that, from the ski to the bike, same thing, right? Really straightforward, 27 minutes. Of basically, again, you're not trying to go full send in those 2 minutes, right? I'm basically trying to hold a pace that is probably what I would want to be holding in Hyrox. So I know for me, like on the ski, okay, it's slightly different with this Hyrox because I'm doing it in a pair, so we're going to be going a lot faster, but I'm still just sort of basing it off of roughly what I would be doing if I was doing a solo Hyrox. So I'm saying I'm going to try and hold the pace I want to hold at Hyrox. Which for me on the ski, it's probably going to be around about 150. On the row, it's maybe going to be about 148-ish. So I'm just trying to hold those paces. If you are doing it in a pair, you could, I would probably still do it this way because what we're trying to do with this part of the program, the erg conditioning, is just build up more tolerance on the ergs and just building up a good level of, it's going to be obviously a mix of your sort of baseline aerobic fitness and anaerobic fitness, but we're going to be mainly looking at it from an aerobic standpoint there. So that is session 2. Session 3 is running intervals. Now, this is a session that I always am nervous for because you know it's gonna fucking hurt. You know that you've done it. Like, if you're finishing this session and you're not dead, well, dead is a bit, and you're not like, fuck, that was hard, then you're not doing it right. Because the whole point of running intervals, especially for this, is that you're running above your lactate threshold, which is essentially like the pace that you can, like the hardest pace, the fastest pace that you can hold, where your body is able to clear lactate out of the muscles at the same time as it's building up, right? So you're literally, if you're on that threshold, it means that as you're running, your body is producing, your body's working, your muscles are working, your muscles are producing lactic acid, and then from them producing lactic acid, your body has to flush that out. Your lactate threshold pace is essentially when the rate of lactate that's coming into your bloodstream through your muscles is equal to the rate at which your body can then flush out that lactate, right? Now, in these sessions, you're probably going to be going faster than your lactate threshold, right? Because that's the point. We want to try and increase our lactate threshold. So these sessions will be difficult. So we've got our warm-up. We've got 10 by 500 meters with 60 seconds rest in between. The goal is to hold a similar pace to your 5K PB. So if your 5K PB, let's just say for easy maths here, is bang on 25 minutes, then obviously you're running at 5 minutes per kilometer. So what you're trying to do here is you're trying to run every single 500 meter interval at 5 minutes per kilometer, right? Maybe even push it to 450. So try and push yourself to go a tiny bit faster. That's what we're looking for. But bear in mind, you're only getting 60 seconds rest in between, and this starts to add up pretty quick. Now, again, I'll talk about how this progresses through later on, but the intervals change every week. As you can see, the second week, we're already looking at 5 by 1000. Session number 4 is another full body gym session. This time, no conditioning, because really we've done, I mean, there's a little bit of conditioning, I'm lying. But not as focused, right? And here we've had Hyrox conditioning, we've got erg conditioning, we've got obviously running conditioning, and then full body here is pretty much just focused on weights. So we've got box squats. The reason I'm going for box squats here is, well, twofold, right? One, again, for Hyrox, do we, like, yes, okay, arguably for the wall balls, you want to be, so obviously you wouldn't want to be, you need to be squatting to depth on the wall balls, but for loading up a squat, we don't necessarily need to be loading up that super bottom range. So I'm just working on the range of, you know, the whole point of doing a box squat is that it limits the range of motion that you're able to go through, right? So having the box there stops you going any lower. So I'm trying to work on that part of the movement where the box ends or starts, and then obviously moving up top from there, right? For me, the second reason is because ever since doing the marathon, my back has just been not feeling too great, and I always find that doing box squats and I find that when I go past a certain level of depth and I load up, it just starts to cause my back a few issues, which I'm just not willing to have right now. I will fix that after this Hyrox prep, but right now I'm doing box squats. And in fact, today I did hack squats, and I was able to go to full depth on the hack squat without having to, and it was no issues. So you can maybe mix and match a little bit here. If you want to just do regular squats, I would also say go for regular squats. Same thing though, we're doing 4 sets of 6. Maybe I'll end up doing sets of 4, but I doubt I feel like we'll probably just stick with sets of 6, to be honest. First set, moderate load, then 3 working sets. Then into some lat pull downs, because who doesn't want some big juicy lats? Into some back supported leg raises. And then this is I've actually been doing it in this order. I've been doing the giant set first. So again, giant set, just working on some like upper body pump style things with a little bit of cyclist squats in there too. And then sled conditioning we have been doing. I've actually got inspiration from this from I saw it on one of the March On programs, and I just thought it was really cool. So I've kind of taken it and adapted it slightly, but I just think it's a good way to get a lot of exposure to doing the sleds more often, because let's face it, most people, yes, okay, the wall balls and the burpees are hard, but most people struggle on the sled when it comes to Hyrox. But I think the sled push and pull is probably one of the areas that you can improve the most. So why not do it more often? So I just want to be making sure I'm doing a good amount of sled every single week in my training program. So what we've got is a 6-minute AMRAP I mean, for me it's actually more like a 10-meter sled push, because it's just the track at the gym is 10 meters. So 10-meter sled push at 160 kilos. So I always try and go a little bit heavier than whatever the weight is on the day, as I've said already. So I think the weight for the men's pairs or men's open and mixed pairs is 150 kilos, but I'll always do at least 160. Today I did 170 when I did this, because again I just want to fucking beef it up a bit more. then you're gonna do 10 calorie ski, right? So sled push into 10 cal ski, 6-minute AMRAP as many times as you can. I've just realized this. I'm doing 20 meter sled push and 10 cal ski, and I'm getting pretty much bang on 4 rounds completed. So one round is taking me pretty much 90 seconds each time, give or take, 5 seconds or so. Then you get a 2-minute rest, and then we're going to go another 6-minute AMRAP, but this time it is going to be a 10 meter sled pull. Again, probably more like 20 meter sled pull, and again, typically the weight at Hyrox thing is 100 kg for men's pairs, mixed pairs, and open men's. I'm doing 110 just to kind of get a bit more through. Actually, today I did 120 just to kind of beef it up a bit more, and then again 10 calorie ski, just rotating between that. So again, that's that. You can probably mix and match this up. If you didn't have time, you could just do one 10-minute AMRAP of a sled push pull. So you could attach the rope to the sled, and then you could do 3, 2, 1, go. You could pull the sled towards you for 10 meters, push it back down the other way for 10 meters, jump on the ski, 10 cal ski, sled, ski, and kind of go back and forth there, right? That's another way you can look at it. And then I've got some optional arms, because who the hell doesn't want a sick double bicep pose? So that's what we are going for here. 8 to 10 incline dumbbell curls, 8 to 10 dumbbell skull crushers, just in there because why the hell not? And then we have got our Hyrox simulation session, which is always a fun one. It's always one of the best ones of the week, right? So we've got a nice wee warm up in there. And this will change every single week, but one thing I want to make very, very clear when it comes to Hyrox simulation sessions, right, is you shouldn't just be doing a full fucking Hyrox sim. And the amount of people that do that, and like, oh yeah, I just go in the gym and I basically just do a Hyrox. Like, no, don't do that, because you're just going to be knackered and even if you don't feel as knackered, it will have an effect on you, and you won't be able to train as hard the following days and potentially even weeks. So what you want to do is you want to think to yourself, okay, what is my realistic goal for completing Hyrox in, right? Let's say it's an hour and a half, right? If you're doing it by yourself, if you're doing it as a pair, maybe it's an hour and 20 minutes, right? So you then want to build up to working for an hour and a half or an hour and 20, right? Let's say an hour and a half for the sake of if you're doing it by yourself. You want to build up to be working for an hour and a half. You want to get your body used to having gone through, the activity for 1.5 hours. So you don't need to just do the whole thing. What I would do is I would pick maybe 3 or 4 of the movements, mix in some running, and basically just start off with maybe a 45-minute AMRAP. And you're just doing as many rounds as you can in 45 minutes of those 5 movements. The next week, you pick a different 5 movements and you rinse through those. Now, obviously, there's going to be crossover in movements week to week. That's good. That's what we want. You don't have to pick completely new 5 movements every single week. But the point is, you're just kind of cycling through. But you go for 45 minutes. Maybe the next week you go for 55 minutes, and then 65, and then you jump straight up to 80. Do you know what I mean? And then gradually you're working your way up to 90 minutes. So you're getting used to working. Now, you can do it that way, and if you're, I would say, less experienced in like programming for yourself, I would probably advise something like that, because it's just super simple, and often the simple stuff gets really fucking good results, right? And people forget that. However, if you are more inclined and you consider yourself a little bit better at programming, then what I would suggest is maybe just having some fun with it and trying some different things. So what I've got here, 1K ski to start off with is a bit of a buy-in into 4 rounds of 800 meter run, and then 25 wall balls, and then 20 meter burpee broad jump. Don't know why I'm talking like that. So you do that 4 times, and then you finish with another 1K row. So you're doing 1K ski 1 time, and then you're going to go into 4 sets of the run, the wall ball, and the burpees, and then you're going to do 1K row to kind of finish off. Now that took me, I want to say I did it last week, actually can't remember exactly. I want to say around 37, 38 minutes. So I will be making these simulation sessions longer as we get closer to Hyrox. Also, it sort of depends on how well conditioned you already are. Like, I know I am already well conditioned to be working for 90 minutes, but at the same time, our goal is to do it in sub 60, so I need to be very conditioned to work hard for 60 minutes. So, just bear that in mind when you think about these things, right? And then the last session of the week is going to be a steady state run. So we've got a wee warm up in there, and it's just steady state run, 60 minutes. Not really too much more to cover. This is the session that most people probably would skip, but I honestly do think it's It's very, very important. Like if you skip this session, you're in trouble, because it's just a great way that you can just get your body used to working for a longer period of time. And it's very simple. Stick a podcast on, stick an audiobook on. The point here is that it's not meant to be fast. And the reason I say podcast or audiobook is because sometimes when I run listening to music, I just find that I go too fast. I genuinely go too fast because like the beat of the song is faster, or it's a good part of the song, so you start to pick up your pace and then you're a bit tired and it's not very consistent. The point here is that we're supposed to be running at your aerobic pace. So what you want to think about is, if you have a heart rate monitor, a heart rate strap, yeah, okay, your watch might tell you your heart rate, but I would always take that with a pinch of salt. But if you have a heart rate strap that you can wear, you want to be running in your aerobic zone. So basically that is 180 minus your age is roughly going to be the kind of maximum heart rate that you want to be hitting, or roughly around about that number. So for me, that is going to be 149 beats per minute. If I'm keeping my heart rate around there, that's fine. If you do have a heart rate monitor and you've worked for a wee while alongside a Garmin or an Apple Watch or something, it will probably know your heart rate zones. So like for me, I think I can go up to about 154, 155, and I'm still in that sort of zone 3 range. Another super easy way to think about it is just, can you have a conversation with someone as you're running? Like if you can hold a conversation, not like the way that necessarily I'm speaking to you right now, but if you can chat to someone and kind of speak in sentences, then you're probably running at a pace that's good. And the purpose is, we don't want to run faster than that. We want to just condition to be getting used to running, okay? So that's the point of that session. Now, in terms of how I'm progressing these, if I just go back the way through, so we've got the run, it's just going to build up by 5 or 10 minutes each week. So we're going to finish off down at about 90. When we get up to 90 minutes, I'm not going to run any longer than 90 minutes, so I'm just going to keep it at 90 minutes and keep that ticking over until we get to the actual day. For the Hyrox simulation session, that will change a little bit week on week. We've got 12-minute AMRAPs, 3 12-minute AMRAPs. So, doing the maths on that, you're working for 36 minutes, probably resting for about 3 minutes in between. So you're talking about, 42, 43 minutes worth of work overall there. Then 4 10-minute AMRAPs. So again, if you can see, like, even if we only count the working times here, 3 by 12-minute AMRAPs, 36 minutes, then 4 by 10-minute AMRAPs. Okay, the AMRAPs are shorter, but we're now working for 40 minutes instead of 36 minutes. So you just gradually want to be increasing that. And the following week, 5 by 10-minute AMRAPs. So now you're working for 50 minutes. And I've not planned anything beyond that just yet. But obviously, I will. And that will be pretty much a full simulation in terms of a full Hyrox, because we've already explained we don't want to do that. But it will be a full 60 minutes worth of activity, pretty much every single simulation after that point. The weights, full body weight session, that is literally just staying exactly the same. And this is something that I think, like, I know I used to get this very, very wrong, where I thought that things had to change all the time, to the point where one week I would be doing box squats, the next week I'd be doing back squats, the next week I'd be doing front squats, the next week I'd be doing back to box squats, and then I'd be doing 1 1/4 squats, and then I'd be doing pause squat, like retarded when I think about it, okay? So that's going to stay the same, and the goal of this session is just to try to continuously increase the weights that I am lifting. So I might not be able to increase every week, that's fine, but the goal is to keep it the same and increase the weights. The running intervals, as I said, we're going to be changing them slightly each week, just in terms of the different distances. So this week, on Wednesday just passed, which would have been for me yesterday, I did 5 by 1,000 meters with 90 seconds rest in between. Then we've got 5 by 1,200, then we've got 4 by 1,600. So they all sort of gradually change as we go through time, building up to 1,600 meters. But to be honest, for a Hyrox race, for the running intervals where you're running at faster paces, I don't really think you need to be running any longer than 1,600. You could maybe bump it up to like 2,000 meters, maybe max 2,400 meter intervals. But again, it's like, is it necessary? You're maybe better off doing more rounds of 1,600 meters at a faster pace than fewer rounds of like 2,400 meters, right? And I'm basically working up to 1,600, and then I'm going back down to 500, but then more sets. So instead of 10 sets as it was in week 1 and week 5, it's now 12 sets. And then it's now 6 sets in week 6 instead of what was 5 sets in week 2, so on and so forth. and just building up like that, and you know, pretty much getting up to the point where I'm hitting 8 by 1,000 meter intervals on the week before Hyrox is like my last sort of big speed, like tough session. Because even that week, I'll probably will do a Hyrox sim that week, but not anything as strenuous. The biggest Hyrox simulation will probably be week 8, considering this is a 10-week program. Will be week 8. The biggest running session will be week 9, and then the final week will very much be a taper down kind of week, where we're not trying to, you know, we're literally just trying to manage recovery and make sure we're feeling good building up to the day. But anyway, session number 2, full body plus ergs. This is staying the same in terms of the weights that I'm doing. That's all going to stay the same. Well, in terms of the movements, we're obviously going to try and progress the weights that I'm lifting. The erg conditioning is always going to be erg conditioning, but we change to 3 on 1 off, 3 on 1 off, and then we're going to slightly change again. We got 4 rounds here: 500 meter ski, rest 60 seconds, rest 2 minutes, you know, between each round, then rest 2 minutes, then 4 rounds of 500 meter row. Again, probably as I get nearer, I will start to adapt these a little bit more to a Hyrox pairs event. Like for here, I've got my erg conditioning becomes 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off on the ski for 10 rounds, then rest 1 minute, then 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off on the row. Okay, you probably wouldn't do that on the day. By the way, and I can also do a video on, like, probably do a video on like our tactics and how we're going to manage that. But anyway, that's definitely not for now. Row, bike, etc, etc. So the conditioning will change, probably get more specific for me for a pairs, but generally speaking, it will just be rotating between the 3 main ergs. And okay, there's no bike in Hyrox, but you know, it's just good to build up a good level of fitness. And then session 1, all the way back at the beginning. Again, all the weights are going to stay the same. I think I'll probably drop the reps. Yeah, I dropped the reps to the deadlift. So we're doing 4 sets of 6, then 4 sets of 4, and then we go back to 8, and then kind of build up from there, just to keep it a bit more interesting, to be honest. And the Hyrox conditioning each day, each week will change. I did this one this week, so it was 400 meter run. Every 4 minutes, you complete 1 round of 400 meter run into either 20 wall balls or 40 meter farmer's carry. And if you do wall balls first, in the next round you do farmer's carry, back and forth for 5 sets total, so you know, 20 minutes worth. And then yeah, that'll change up each week again, with the main purpose just being running under fatigue whilst mixing in a couple of movements. I think I've only planned out 4 weeks worth of those. Yes, I haven't got those ones done yet, but that's I'll do that when the time comes. And then yeah, that's pretty much the program, guys. And then just one more thing, as I already kind of said, the last big week of training will be like full on big week of training will be week 8. So you know, that will bring us up to Friday. I'm competing on a Friday, so Friday 2 weeks out from Hyrox will be like that full week, will be probably the peak week of training. This week will still be intense. We'll still do Hyrox conditioning, we'll do hard running sessions here, but then the full body session obviously won't be too bad. And then my simulation here will be intense, but it will be shorter. It won't be 60 minutes because I know I've got a 90-minute run. And then this week here is all about just making sure I'm recovered. So you can see 3 sets of 3 deadlifts, but maximum 70%. I've only done 2 rounds of the giant sets. We're just doing some sprints, 200 meters. That'll be a run at a hard pace, but that's it, but only 200 meters. And again, just really lowering down the intensity this final week with an extra rest day mixed in there. Easy 5K rest day, and then it's time to compete. And that's how it's going to work. Now, before I wrap this video up, one thing I do want to mention is what would you do if you can't train 6 times a week, right? So if I had to prioritize what sessions I would do here, I would say definitely session 1, definitely session 2, and then if you can only train 3 times per week and that is your absolute maximum, I would say I would say 1 week do like a Hyrox simulation style thing, and then the next week do a steady state run. So you're not always having to do simulations, because you're kind of getting a bit of that in the Hyrox conditioning here. You're doing some erg conditioning here, so you probably want to do some just for the sake of they're fun to do, right? Some simulations, but I would probably alternate that, so your 3rd session alternates between a simulation and a steady state run. If you can do 4 sessions, obviously I would just then do both of those. You do session 1, session 2, the Hyrox simulation and the steady state run, nice and straightforward. If you can do 5 sessions, then I would be inclined again to say that you want to do session 1, session 2, your running intervals, and then probably would be biased towards simulation and steady state run. So a lot of conditioning. So you're missing out on this full body strength session here. But to be honest, this is probably the least important session of the plan. This is almost just for me to stay a bit more jacked as we do more Hyrox, right? So that's there. And anything less than 3, you're probably gonna struggle. So yeah, do at least 3. Anyway, guys, that is me. Thank you for listening. I hope this video was somewhat useful. It was a little bit different to sort of my typical normal style, but please let me know if you've enjoyed it, and look forward to seeing you in the next one. Comment below with any fucking questions. I don't know why I swore there. Any questions or anything you want me to cover, and I will do my best to do so. But for the meantime, stay jacked, and I'll see you in the next video.